and thank you for joining us today. I'm Stephan, founder of and the Global Consultant for Sales. Welcome to our live cast at Selected Group. Definitely, we do these live casts to give information and a bit of educational understanding about many components that people use during in their investments, their life, commercially, and related to real estate and non-related to real estate. So today, if you can give us just a quick introduction about yourself, please, for our listeners and viewers to understand a bit, and then we're gonna go through a set of understanding questions about the concept of sales and the understanding of concluding a commercial deal.
Great. Thank you, George, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, about myself, I can talk 2 days about myself, but I'll keep it short. I came here 18 years ago and I set up Impulse as a consultancy for sales and sales development. We do a couple of other things in communication as well, but it's mainly sales that we work in. And we work with organizations all over the globe, I have to say, on different sales related topics. And I'm really happy to be here. Hit me with your questions.
Thank you. First, as just for us to understand a little bit, usually when you want to look at as an expert in the field and understanding the sales as individuals more than just the process or the procedure to follow, what do you think are the in your like just on top of your head? What are the top two qualities of a good salesperson?
Very interesting questions. There's obviously more than two, but if I had to name two, one of them would be listening. And with listening comes asking the right questions and waiting for an answer and not assuming we know the answers because we don't. And the second one I would say is a solid preparation for any sales call that we have.
Beautiful. That's exactly what I think always. And honestly speaking, I always advise the team that listening is super important. Asking questions is more important than dumping features or showcasing any product. Do not start presenting, just really understand what people want and need. So, what really separates the top 1% of sales leaders from everyone else?
Well, that's a good question. When it comes to sales leadership, obviously we're talking about the people who run and lead sales teams and lead them to success. And I would say the top qualities or the top activities they do is the three C's, which is clarity, consistency, and coaching. So clarity is about targets, clarity is about expectations. As a sales manager or sales leader, we can't really manage numbers. We can manage activities that leads to reaching those numbers. So I've come across a lot of sales teams who were unclear on their expectations in terms of activities. They were very clear on the targets, and they were trying to find ways to hit those targets, and they get their support from their managers and from their peers. But when it comes to activities, what should I do every morning? How many customers should I call per day? How often should I call them per year? What is an active or an inactive account? There's not much clarity sometimes. So that is what I struggle with. So when I come to the office in the morning or I start my job in the morning, I need to know what I should be doing. And I can either have the self initiative to come up with my own plans and my own activities from my own experience, or I need a little bit of guidance on that. So that's the clarity part. The consistency part is I've seen a lot of sales leaders inconsistent with their demands, targets, and interactions with their teams. So somebody's having a bad month, somebody's having a bad 2 months, is having a bad quarter before they even intervene. So when we are consistent, as in on the positive side and on the negative side, meaning that when somebody is underperforming, I need to be consistent in my actions. But then when somebody is performing, I also need to be consistent in my actions to make sure people feel motivated and people feel pushed to move forward. And then the last part is the coaching part, because a lot of sales leaders tell people what to do, but that's not coaching. Coaching is not telling people what to do. Coaching is having interactions, conversations, using the right tools, and again, being consistent in the way they do that. So teams feel almost, they feel a strong connection to the manager, but they almost feel that there's an underlying purpose for doing what they're doing, and that is related to their manager, and their manager can actually instill that in people.
mm,
So if you think about sales leadership, if we have a sales team which is I don't want to say not great at their job, but if they're underperforming, a good sales leader can pull them out. We don't need to send them to courses and trainings and all that stuff. We don't need to push them and remind them. If you have a good sales leadership in place, we can do a lot
mm,
with a sales team that is not performing to expectations.
mm. So when you enter an organization or when you interact with any sales team that is not really doing or hitting their targets, or it's been like many times it's not happening, let's say over the first 2 3 quarters, business is not moving, where do you start?
Well, a lot of sales teams that I work with have some kind of an idea why they're not performing. So that could be related to the lead quality they have, or converting them, or asking the right questions, building relationships, etc., etc. So they have a little bit of an idea why that would not happen. But when we think about coming in from scratch and really they have no clue what's happening, we've got the four S's, and the four S's are around sales management, sales methodology, sales cadence, and sales enablement.
Mm,
And sales management being what we just talked about, sales leadership, and trying to find out what are you doing in terms of sales management. I've had companies I started to work with where after two or three conversations leading up to a project, I would find out, or we would find out, that you don't really need sales training. Meet once a week with your team and you'll be fine. Just be there and connect with your team. So the sales management is the part where the leader steps in and interacts. And then the sales methodology is then the part where we ask ourselves, do people have the right skill set? Do they have the questioning techniques? Do they know how to drill deeper? Do they know how to tap from the rational side into the emotional side? Because we know every sale has a very strong emotional
yeah,
aspect to
but
it. And what are the process to follow? How do you define what questions you ask? How do you open a conversation? How do you create an engagement with your client, that your client, where your client would come out of that conversation, whether they bought or not, didn't buy, but coming out of a conversation where they say or think, this was a good conversation. I didn't buy anything, they didn't sell me anything, but that was a good conversation. That was not a waste of my time. And the meetings that I've had with people who try to sell something to me, many of them were where I thought in the end it was a bit of a waste of time because we didn't really get anywhere. And then the sales cadence part is everything around organizing your messaging. How many times should I call someone? What's my planned annual call rate for an active or inactive account, for an ongoing or not ongoing project? How should I plan? What kind of information should I have ready for them? How do do a follow up? Do I just send, hey, I'm just checking in, or I just wanted to follow up on our last conversation, which is the worst thing you can do, instead of adding value to their day in your email or in your follow up. And then the sales enablement is all the AI tools, all the systems and technology that we have, all the lead generation tools, the LinkedIn ads, and all of that stuff that help us to create leads. So these are the things that we would analyze and look at. In most cases, I have to say it's related to methodology, training, skills. But then the next piece is sales management. That is a big portion that we would work on.
if, for an example, when in our part of business as real estate development, the biggest chunk of lead generation comes through people. It's not through our systems. At the end of the day, if we have a project like Six Senses Marina, which is 4.8 billion worth of sale, definitely there is a lot of other business partners who are competing with us from a company perspective on advertisement and media in order to attract leads, because we're all paying in the same pool and we're trying to compete to get it towards us. And in reality, from this particular type of business, we see that mainly it's driven by business partners who are the brokerage firms that we have contracts with, and definitely we pay out commissions towards the sales that they do. Uh, sometimes, especially in a market like Dubai, you're familiar with Dubai market for sure. You know, like every other day, there is a new launch, there is a new project, there is a new deal in the market, there is a new plot, new location, new X, new Y. And then the time that these business partners spend on one particular project is shrinking. Early stages, 5 years ago, let's say when we were launching Marina Gate, we had an engagement over 7 8 months because it was normal for a project to take a year and a half to sell. So we used to see that their engagement with us was longer. Today, they give it a week, a shot, happens, whatever. We sell 20, 30 units from one project and they exit, they focus on something else. What do you suggest from a perspective where, as a developer, now that the market is changing, we see in the past few months that there is a shift. Things are taking more time. It's not anymore open door, showcasing inventory, sold in one day. These projects are getting smaller, and these things are happening less and less and less every time. So usually the project that used to sell in 3 days, now they're selling in 5 6 months or more. They still have inventory. We don't see any more a sellout happening from like before in the past year. And there is now more challenge because of the availability in the market from a conversion perspective. So yes, we have leads coming through business partners. Yes, they are way much less. So before, when we used to have 200 leads, we convert 100 of them, or we convert, let's say, 30% of that, which is like 25 30 units, which is good enough. Today, we have less leads coming in because the focus on that particular project after, let's say, 8 9 10 months, 12 months is less. So they're focusing somewhere else, but we still receive these. So the conversion ratio here becomes a challenge because before that, your 20% conversion is great number. Today, with, let's say, 50 leads, you need 40%
Yeah.
conversion in order to drive the 20 units that you used to drive with 200 leads. So, what do you think some of the frameworks, techniques, or methodologies that you follow or that we can do in order to increase the conversion ratio and the leads that we are currently receiving in the market?
Well, there's a couple of aspects here. The first one I would say is that in all businesses, in all aspects these days, we are fighting for the attention of our buyers,
Mm,
right? They're being hit with so many offers every day, you named it, whether this is in real estate or anywhere else. So there's a constant fight for their attention. So this means that organizations have a couple of options. One option, of course, is to come up with something new all the time. But of course, when you develop a building, you can't come with a new one every month or every 2 months. So, but people, buyers, also interact and focus on those things that they're really interested in.
mm,
So when it comes to the attention of agents or brokers, they also get distracted. But in that case, they are almost like you're in between clients because
correct.
the more attention they give us,
Mm,
the more attention they can get put into the market
200%.
around a particular development. So better understanding them and what is really important for them helps us. Of course, there will always be people who chase the latest and greatest, and that will not stop. That will
Because
always be the case.
it's also an easy sale when you have something like when we launched originally, we have like 50 60% of the inventory going because everybody's focused there. And then, yes, this is new, you have the choice to choose your unit, there is a lot of happy nice components there, but then you have multiple projects coming after 2 3 weeks, and then they jump for this one, and then for this one, and then for this one, and then for this one. So to get them back to focus on what you have is less. So, what do you think of the conversion that we need to tackle? What should be if we doing more from a technical perspective or to increase the conversion ratio? Because now the lead is less. So it's a big concern for us.
Yeah.
Well, what are your suggestions on
So the number one is coming back to something I said earlier is to understand your client,
that?
is to build that emotional connection. People buy from people. And when I trust someone, I trust them with whatever project they represent.
Mm,
And the more I can connect to people, the more of that engagement I can create, the more chances I have to convert at the end of the day.
Mm.
Because people want to have fruitful business conversations. People want to buy from people they trust and that they can identify with. So if I'm someone who who is honest and transparent and who really gives the feeling that they want to help based on, have I really understood what my client is looking for? Because when somebody's looking for property, they can look for the same property and buy it for 500 different reasons,
Mm.
everybody for another reason, but we're selling them the same property. So my understanding of what they're really looking for, what is really happening in the back of their mind, is what creates my attention. And when we look at statistics, more than 70% of buyers claim the seller doesn't get me.
Mm.
Not at all, but they don't get me. So which means that only 30% of sellers statistically really understand, what is my customer looking for? What do they really want to achieve? And it's not buying a property. That is just, in your case, that is just the means to an end.
Yeah.
And but if I don't understand what that end is, fully understand it, I don't have that strong connection.
So this is why I strongly believe it's very important to understand the client want and need before making any proposal. So we go
Absolutely.
back to the right set of questions and enhancing the listening skills of the salesperson in order to understand the messaging behind it
Yeah.
and touch base with the emotional uh, purchase side from the buyer perspective in order for them to make the decision and move on the deal.
I mean, we all make a purchase decision because of three drivers. And it's the same for all of us. We buy because of pain. So we have a situation that doesn't work and that causes us pain. That could be, I'm paying rent for nothing and I want
Mm,
to purchase something. Or I have a lot of money sitting around and it's painful for me to see how inflation makes it worth less, whatever the pain is. So I'm willing to make an investment. Or we buy out of gain, meaning that we are in a situation that is comfortable, but we can make it better.
mm,
We can optimize it. Maybe I sell a property and buy another one because it's a better investment for me,
mm,
right? So, but I'm comfortable with what I have. Or we buy out of fear, meaning that we are in a good place, but we are afraid it's not going to be a good place tomorrow.
mm,
So once I understand whether I have a pain, a gain, or a fear customer in front of me, my questions and my understanding and my conversation goes into that direction. And I want to focus and talk about that to really understand, is your pain, gain, or fear big enough that you're actually going to make an investment? And once I know that, once I understand whether my customer is going to buy, I can focus on the second question, which is, are they going to buy from me?
mm,
And that is when I bring my selling power in, and everything that I have that I bring to the table. But before finding out whether somebody's window shopping or really is serious about making an investment, I can improve my conversion rates through that just by understanding that.
mhm, mhm. When you look at everything, and we know understand that across all the industries that you've taught in or consultant with related to the commercial aspect and the sale aspect, what role does emotional intelligence, in your opinion, uh, play in leadership and in sales performance on a team level or on a company level?
Yeah, I mean, selling is communicating. It's nothing else. It's making use of words, forming them into questions and sentences that, and we put it into a particular sequence so that a customer would say yes at the end of the day. That's what selling is. And when we communicate, emotional intelligence is one of the big components of communication, because we want to understand our own emotions, we want to understand our buyer's emotions, and we want to react to that. We want to control it, we want to focus on it, we want to amplify it, whatever we want to do. So as long as we are communicating, emotional intelligence will always play a role. I wouldn't say it's the biggest role it plays, but it is playing a big role, because we want to build an emotional connection to people that we work with or we interact with, and they want that. There's exceptions, of course, but Most people want that. Most people want to feel comfortable in a buying position. They don't want to feel sold. They want to feel somebody is helping them to make a buying decision. And as a seller, I don't want to push, I don't want to sell something. I want to make sure that I help my client make the right decision. And that maybe is not always buying from me. But if I can be honest and if I can be ready for disqualifying someone because I feel, you know what, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't do it. And it takes some courage to do that.
Yep.
But that is usually when they come back one day
Yeah.
because they trust.
Yeah, because you gave the right. You've been a trusted advisor. At the end
Exactly.
of the day, you're not a salesperson
Yes.
selling hooks for a bathroom, or you're selling
Yeah.
investments. And this is something that we really try always to educate the buyer, because there is a big difference between developer and middle agent or the buyer. Each one of us plays a different role. And I strongly believe a good company that hires a team that educates the buyer also, and make them talk to them and ask the right questions for them also to understand why they are buying. Sometimes a lot of the buyers, they come and they don't know why they're buying. So
Yeah.
through the
True.
set of questions, you can mold the path in
Yeah.
order to take them into the right place for them to really make a decision at the end. Because every unit is for a different use.
Yeah.
Some units in a building, they are purely for investment, which you can consult and advise and say, yes, this will have a higher return from a rental perspective compared to on a percentage based structure. And when somebody's coming for an end use, honestly speaking,
Yeah.
from my business and my knowledge of many years in the field, I don't advise anything. It's home. So there is no price tag for home. If you're buying a
Very
place
true.
where
Very
you want to
true.
live,
Yeah.
uh, nobody can challenge the view. You need to like the view, the layout. You need to like the layout. The building, you need to be in love with the building. From an investment, you don't really ask all these questions. Personally, I invested in things that I never even looked at the layout, because it's making 8% return. Great, it's 8%
Yeah.
return. So it's a financial transaction. But mainly when somebody's buying for himself to live in,
It's an emotional
it's a
decision.
very emotional
Absolutely. Yeah.
decision, and people are very keen to even increase the investment to make it even better. I saw one of my friends who bought a villa for a brand new villa for 9 point something million. He spent another 1.5 million on it. I'm like, what are you doing? Is it like furniture? He's like, no, no, I made changes. So
To make it
even
his
it's brand
own or
new.
her
So
own. Yeah.
exactly, home is home. So in your experience, what do you think they are the core habits or mindsets that distinguish a top performing salesperson from the rest of the team? So when you look at, when you're training a team or giving a course, or you're leading a team, what do you think is the that core habit that really puts that person above his peers?
It's very easy to answer, really, because we focus a lot on the mindset.
Mm,
We focus on mindset, skill set, and the tools to use. And the mindset is the starting point. And we try to bring people away from a product mindset into what we call a value mindset. So
mm,
instead of thinking, how can I sell a particular product to you? Because that's all we have.
yeah.
We have a product. So most sellers that I've met, they go out and think and have their product in mind when they go out. Of course, they try to ask the right questions so that product becomes viable. But guess what? If I sell hammers, everything looks like a nail,
Yeah.
right? I will find in your house a reason why you should buy a hammer
Yeah.
if I have that hammer in mind. So by moving into a value mindset, I'm switching my brain into how can I add value to your life? How can I add value to your business? How can I
Mhm.
add value to your portfolio, whatever it is?
Mm,
And that takes a little bit. And it's almost like starting from a clean slate. And because products and services exists in our world, but the customer is not in our world, the customer is in their world. So we start by stepping into the customer world. We leave everything behind. We leave all our beautiful products and services behind. And we step into the customer world and we see what we find. And we find pain, gain, and fear.
mhm.
And once we are in that world and we build a connection to our client and understand their world, we take them by the hand, and now we can bring them. Now we've earned the right to bring them into our world of features and advantages and products. But they wouldn't come if we didn't step into their world first and
Mm,
brought them over. So it's a bit abstract, the mindset piece, but that is what I mean by mindset. It's about what is valuable to you, and valuable doesn't have to be around product. Valuable does not have to mean the view or the kitchen. Valuable can be, I trust you as a person,
yeah.
or you came to me at the right time, or you gave me space at the right time
Mhm.
that I value, and this is why I trust you, whether I have this view or that view. So it's not always product related. And once I understand what is really important for my client, that's beautiful. Because imagine if we were able to sit with a client and started a conversation with, you know, how do you like to be guided through a buying process? What do you value in making a buying decision?
Mhm.
Nobody has ever asked me that.
Actually,
Everybody,
that's a good question.
nobody has. So how do you like to do this? Do you want me to call you every day? Do you want me to remind you every 2 weeks? Do you want me to send you lots of stuff? Do you want me to leave you alone? Do you want me to be open? Do you want me to, how do you want me to be as your seller or as your person of contact?
Mm.
How do you want to go through this process? Because it's a difficult process. It's an emotional process. It's you're spending a couple of million on a property. You know, for some people it might be peanuts, but not for everybody.
No,
So
no, no.
whatever
Any
you
any
invest
any
is
money is money. At the end of the day,
exactly,
it's irrelevant how much you
exactly.
spend.
But
Yeah.
nobody ever asked that question.
Mm.
And it would be, I mean, you can't, this shouldn't be the first question you ask, of course,
For
but you
sure.
need to have a bit of a relationship first. But I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
And you see somebody who's really interested in, hey, it's not about selling me something. There's somebody who's interested in guiding me through a process that is painful for me as a
Mm.
buyer
Mm.
as well.
Yeah. But honestly speaking, I really like this part a lot because in my years working in the field, I always believed that we were never a salesperson is not a salesperson. He should be an advisor, a consultant. Sometimes you need to tailor make the product according to the wants and needs of the person, and you don't dump features and just information because when you sit with somebody and tell you, okay, do for me the presentation. Honestly speaking, at this stage, I maybe 80%, 90% the person is not buying.
Yeah,
He's just wasting
yeah,
time,
yeah.
especially when a salesperson or a consultant, let's say, or a trusted advisor. I like to call them trusted advisors. Approaches somebody by asking a set of questions, and then why you're asking me questions, it's like to understand what I should really bring to the table and what product suits you and what makes sense to you for you to use the money. Then you have a client jumping saying, no, 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 okay, just go through the presentation. I want to know what is the product. And then this is, I think it's an indicator that
Yeah.
maybe 90% that this person is going to walk out of the room without
Yes,
making,
a
without being
decision.
interested.
Yeah,
He's just,
yeah,
I'm here, I'm stuck here. I just need this stuff to finish and move along.
yeah. And buyers are also biased because they don't know any other way,
Mm,
because they maybe don't know or don't think that somebody's really interested in helping them.
yeah.
So instead of, going through a process that might be painful or might be a waste of time, I would say, just show me the presentation. I'll
Mm,
make my own decision. But
yeah,
as a seller, I want to be part of that decision making process. I
for
want to be
sure.
part of what's happening in their mind.
This is how conversion.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the only way for us to be able to convert something.
Yes.
What do you think of the current market situation where one buyer is receiving um, the same product, the same lead through 500 different partners, let's say, or one buyer that has a specific amount of money has a pool of hundreds of options to pick up from there. Where do you think that salesperson can take the advantage of showcasing his uniqueness?
I would say we keep circling back to the same. It's relationship and it's understanding and genuine interest.
No.
When I think about myself, and wish I had an unlimited amount of money to spend. But the things that I purchase, if I can have the same seller to whom I have a good relationship, I trust them, and I know they know me,
Mm,
and they would call me and say, Stefan, hey, I've got this because this fits you
mhm,
once in a while. Those are the people that I would go with.
mm,
And especially when it comes to an emotional purchase like real estate, I would prefer that. And if I had all these hundreds of different offers, I would still go with the person I trust.
yeah. But you'd be surprised, honestly, to see the amount of people buying uh, without building any. There is a wave that came to Dubai at a certain time where people just wanted to offset cash, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but today we see a different pattern, and
I guess again, it's about understanding, because if I have a customer who just wants to offload cash, then how much should I invest into this? Should
mm,
I make my best offer, create the most fancy presentation, impress them as much as I can, and hope something is going to come back? If no, I haven't invested a lot.
mm,
If yes, great. And really invest my time into, because we only have our 8 or 10 hours a day, and
exactly,
invest my time into those opportunities where I feel it's worth it. And the rest, I reduce my efforts to make it work,
yeah.
but with the minimum possible investment.
What would, just in conclusion, before we see if there is any questions, what is your advice on the top three main things that a salesperson should always not forget into when they start with a meeting? It's a first time meeting. What are the top three things that they should be always focusing on?
Yeah. Okay. The first one is, apart from the preparation, and let's
Yeah,
assume all of that has been done. The first is, after we done the chit chat and the, kind of ice
icebreakers.
breaking and
Yeah.
everything, is giving a quick overview of what's going to happen in this meeting today. Because
Mm,
you're spending an hour of your time with me, so investing into me. When we make a purchase decision as consumers or as business buyers, we invest three resources: time, energy, and money.
mm,
By the time you and I meet, you're already investing time and energy.
mm,
So I thank you for that. But I
yeah.
want to make sure that you see that the time you're investing with me, the hour that we meet, is well invested.
Mm,
So I don't want to dump presentations onto you
mm,
unless you want that. I get calls from real estate agents. Yeah, can we meet? Can we meet? And I said, why would we meet? Yeah, because I want to show you this. I want to show you that. But that's a waste of my time, because I don't see the value of
exactly.
that hour that I'm getting back
Yeah.
for that hour. So the first thing is, give me an overview. What's going to happen in the next hour, more or less, mini agenda,
Mm,
and tell me, what do I walk away with?
mm,
And then ask me questions that go beyond the fact find.
mm,
Ask me questions that trigger thinking, emotions, questions where I would say, "Oh, interesting. Nobody ever asked me that question before," or "I haven't thought about this. Let
mm.
me think about this." Right? Because we want to have conversations that challenge us.
Yeah, definitely.
We are buyers. We want to use our
We
brain
may,
when we
yeah,
have a
yeah,
conversation, right?
that,
So give me an overview, ask you the right questions, and then kind of see where the conversation takes us. A lot of sellers have this: I need to complete, or I need to accomplish ABC.
mm,
And that could be, I need to get a signature, or I need to get permission to take them on a tour through the building,
yeah,
or I need to get permission, or worst, I need 5 referrals from them.
yeah,
You know, but forget about these things that you want to accomplish. See where the conversation takes us, and lead the conversation, but give me the feeling that I have a say in how you lead
yeah,
the
yeah.
conversation, so I feel comfortable.
Wow.
And that should be an engaging conversation, I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I hope our listeners are really taking benefit from this, especially that a lot of the viewers of this particular live cast goes with brokers and sales individuals because most of the time it's commercially driven or it's around our business. And your expertise and your knowledge in the field is something that we all cherish, and I hope they benefit from it.
I hope so too. Thank you.
and I hope they listened well, because they need to be good listeners. And in case there is any set of questions, they can send it to us, or we will open the mic
Yeah,
here if there is anything. But in the future, if there's something, they can send it to us, and we can send
absolutely.
you
Would love
the
to help.
question
Yes,
and
of course.
support
I'm not
with that.
going. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
And
having me,
thank you
George. It
for
was a
no, thank
pleasure.
you for coming over,
Thank you.
Stefan. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Please,
Thank
in
you.
case there is any questions, Stefan is available to answer, or myself. And if none, we can close the live feed. And yes,
Thank you very much for your time. I want to ask your ways of closing a deal and making a call for action. Is there any efficient ways that you use? Yeah, thank you.
Great question. Excellent. I love that. So when we think about closing a deal, means before we close it, we need to open it. So we need to have a proper conversation before we even can think about closing. And when it comes to closing, there is something that I call assumptive closing. So as we come to the end of the conversation, instead of asking myself, oh, are they going to buy or not? Uh, what is going to happen? What can I do? My mindset should be, why would they not buy? Now, this doesn't mean I say that, but I work, the way I lead the conversation is not if, but when. So once we've done this, we can go into that step. Once we've done the paperwork, we can start this. And we start to give them a feeling of as if they have already made the buying decision. Now, again, this is a very subtle way. This is not arrogant or this is not pushy. This is a very subtle way how we formulate our conversation and our statements. And then if we have doubts at the end, if there is the question in the room, why would you not buy? A simple question is, okay, based on what we have discussed now, how do you feel about the conversation? Simple question. And they will give you an answer. Yeah, this was interesting. This was nice. This was this was that. Okay, is there anything that you want to know? Is there anything we have missed? Now we're referring back to our conversation opener where we gave a bit of a mini agenda. Is there anything that we forgot? And then the question can be, where do you feel we should go from here? What do you feel would be the next step from your side? And we see what they say. And we try to get some kind of a commitment. I have to think about it, our favorite line at the end. Okay, now when you think about it, what are some of the things that you're considering? And don't get me wrong, I will give you all the time to think about it and talk to your husband and wife and everybody you want. But what are some of the things that you take into consideration? And we just try to find out if it's a tactic or if they're really, because some people really need to think about it. So that in combination, I would say, is something that can work towards closing. Doesn't mean they're going to sign if they don't want to, but it is a nice way of closing and getting some kind of a commitment at the end. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Stefan. Uh,
Hi.
just a mindset perspective. Was there a turning point in your career when you realized that selling really means going beyond targets and quotas?
Yes. Over the years, this happened. There was not a particular point of time when this happened, when I woke up one morning and thought, oh, this is all different. But you know what? I've been doing sales training for 25 years and you can imagine, met every kind of industry, everything. And in every course that I deliver, in every coaching I do, I learn something. And sometimes it's the simplest things that just pop up and I have to quickly scribble down a note about something like that. And over the years, I've I came to realize what does value really mean? Because we talk about value proposition, sell the value, you've got sales managers pushing, no, no, don't sell on price, you need to sell the value. But nobody knows really what that means. And so over the years in these courses, and I've started to test a couple of conversations with an audience, and And that is when I came to that realization more and more that it's actually a thing to talk about value. What does client value mean? And we don't define client value. Client value is defined by the client, nobody else. It doesn't matter how great the phone is we buy, or the car is we buy, or the property is we buy. We define as a buyer what value means, and it's not defined by the seller. They can tell me my benefits from it. You have a great view, you feel fantastic when you come home, you're in the middle of everything, you've got everything around you. Those are benefits, but whether these are valuable to me, I decide. So if somebody knows what is valuable to me and why I'm purchasing, I'm coming back to pain, gain, and fear. That is when we build a connection. So this happened gradually over the years. Good question. Thank you. There was another one over here. Um,
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
So you talked about connecting with a client on an emotional basis. So how do a person or an agent who is comparatively new in this field connect with a client on an emotional basis?
Well, that does question doesn't have one simple answer, but it's a good question. So I don't think it really matters whether somebody's new or in the job for a while. Human beings start connecting to each other based on emotions. So I can have an emotional conversation whether I'm new in the job or I've been there for a while. And the way to trigger this is when I slowly start to move away from fact-based questions into opinion and feeling-based questions. Because fact-based questions give you information that already exists. How many bedrooms are you looking for? Do you have a family of 3 or 4? How many cars do you want to bring, etc., etc. Those are fact questions. So somebody knows the answer already. The answer exists, and it's boring. But an opinion based question, how do you think this is going to land with the rest of your family? Um, how do you see your maybe income level grow over the years? You told me earlier you're running a company and that is quite successful, and you have an office in Business Bay. What do you think is going to happen over the next years? What are your plans for that? And what have you done in the past to so these are emotional questions, opinion based questions where people start to think, and that is kind of the entrance point into people's emotions. And we have a concept that we call 4 dimensions of discovery, and one of the dimensions is the approach to which we ask questions. So we want to start with simple questions in the beginning to warm up, and these can be simple fact questions. Then we want to go into the more complex questions before we enter the sensitive questions. And the sensitive questions we don't want to start with. We may ask them at the end of the conversation, or maybe in the next meeting, or in the next meeting once trust is built. And those questions are usually the entrance into the more emotional side. And once they open up, sometimes it's just about asking, oh, wow, how did that happen? Or what is this really interesting? How did that feel? You know, and once we are in the conversation, it just flows. And then we have, and we can feel that connection in that conversation. Good question. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, and hopefully in the future we'll have more and more of these educational days together
Anytime,
and times.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much,
Thank you
George.
for
I
joining
appreciate
us.
it. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a great.
Thank you.